Welcome back. Now we're talking about employees. How do you find them? How do you grade them? How do you keep them? And let's not talk about how do you get rid of them. So,
Why are you looking at me?
how do you find good employees? And I don't think it's a South African problem. I think this is a worldwide problem.
I tend to recruit through my staff. I tell my staff I tell them what I want, and they bring them. And please understand, if they bring me problem children, I don't forgive them forever, never, amen. And I remind them on regular basis, this is what you brought me. Yeah, don't bring me another one.
You told me about the guy with the drug problem that you employed 3 times.
we have all kinds. We have some very, very interesting people. Old Tommy.
But you did make a remark earlier about not being able to trust somebody's qualifications.
Look, to me, qualifications and job titles are meaningless. I find them infuriating, if anything. I tell my staff, if you want to call yourself an expert or a consultant, or you want to call yourself an engineer, go for it. I really don't care. One of the great comedies is, when you talk to people, you talk to the chef in a hotel, and he says, I'm a chef. And you talk to the cook in the wimpy, and he says, I'm a chef.
Yeah.
Are the skills comparable? I don't think so. But at the end of the day, job titles and qualifications, I think they're overstated and overvalued. It starts with the person, and that's what we've got to keep getting back to. Let's look at the person. And when we find companies with a high staff turnover, and I'm speaking from and I've worked in most sectors of the economy. When we have a high staff turnover, it's because we don't care about the people. And they know it, and that's why they move. I have found historically that, even through the troubled times in South Africa, when we had all the stayaways and all the rest, I never lost a shift. Why people came to work. They found a way to get there. Even though many of them were at risk of being assaulted and et cetera, they still found a way to make it happen. Now, why?
Well, Ivan, I've seen you at work. And one thing I must say is you are not the manager that stands at the door and gives everybody a hug as they come through the door and say, welcome, I am so glad for your presence, and walk around every 5 minutes and cheer and wave the flags. And if anything, you do exactly the opposite.
Yeah, look, one of the things that I stress...
How come people are deemed so loyal to you?
Look, one of the things that I stress across with everybody is that when I employ a person, and as what I said to a little earlier, is that a contract is formed based on they're going to deliver to me, and I will deliver in return to them. Nowhere in the contract does it say they have to like me or that I have to like them. Nowhere in the contract does it say that I need to talk quietly and sweetly and treat them. So I just don't get into these issues. I know the HR department would be horrified if they saw the way I behave on the shop floor, because in as much as I'll reward somebody or compliment a person publicly, I will crucify them on the shop floor in front of everybody if they do something out of line. Because I believe that it's important that we be honest. And treating people with honesty and integrity works both ways. It's not just a management task. It comes from them as well. And if an employee is prepared to do something substandard or out of line, okay, that is seen by the other employees.
I want to ask you a question. Do you treat everybody with respect?
Oh, absolutely.
That's why your people stay.
So that's where I want to weigh in on that, because following on our previous discussion about staff turnover and the fact that most businesses these days have a high staff turnover. The interesting thing that I have found, and which has been said to me many, many times over my HR career, was people who said to me, I would rather work somewhere where I am happy than somewhere else where I earn more, but I'm not happy. And that is the important thing. And happiness is not about receiving a little hug every morning and getting a flower on your desk. And that's not what it's about.
No.
People want to feel that they are valued, that they are part of your organization. When that happens, they are more engaged. And when they are engaged, they are productive. And your turnover drops.
Yeah.
It's not money. And this is the thing that most businesses get wrong. They think that staff retention centers around paying them more, giving them bonuses, and that's going to make people stay.
And having
It
a
doesn't.
Seattle coffee down in the lobby.
It doesn't.
I'll tell you a
not.
story. I think it was the first time or the second time I went to Ivan's premises. And Ivan and one of the sales reps pulled into each other. But I promise you, they were like 5 millimeters away from punching each other. Okay. And this is a lady. And they were having a full-on shouting match in front of everybody. And everybody kept on working. And I'm sitting there and I'm going like, oh my God, what out? And this went on probably for half an hour. Okay. But like full blast, like siblings, okay? You and your brother, I am going to give you such a punch. Oh, really? Come, bring it. And it was about something that the rep did that you didn't agree with. And at the end of the day, what it really was about, it was something in the software that allowed an action that should have been. And the rep had inadvertently found this flaw. And this is where all the angst came from. But in that fight, never ever was there any fear on either side. This was a robust discussion, if ever, about a problem that both parties felt, and they had to find a solution for it. And at the end of it, it says, cool, lekker, we sorted out, yeah, we're going to get the software fixed. Do you want some coffee? Yeah, let's go have some coffee. Off we go.
But you see,
That's what you do not see in business anymore. Yes, good morning, sir. Good morning, ma'am. How are you? I'm great, thank you. Can you go and sit and do your work? And I will check you out, and I will pass opinion on your work,
management
but not
by
with
fear.
you, to somebody else.
But you see, here's the thing, and this is a comment, and I think what you say there is really important. I worked for a well-known company many years ago where one of the values was we question and challenge. And that value was very much instilled, and we did yell at each other, and we did have disagreements, and we had the robust discussions. And then management changed. And management changed the values. And the value of question and challenge was taken away. And the whole culture of the organization changed. And that is the problem now.
No, it's not a change. No. It's not a culture. It's an act of dishonesty. When
culture.
I walk around the shop first thing in the morning, I mean, I'm usually at the office by about 6:30. So as the staff come in, I'll take a walk around and I make a nuisance of myself here and there and ask the odd daft question and look as though I understand what's going on half the time. I mean, there's so many events happening at the business. There's no ways I can keep up with what everybody's doing. So I make a point of moving around, and then people will come up with particular queries or there's a problem or whatever, and I deal with it on the shop floor. I do not take it to the office, ever. The moment I take something to the office, I have found that it actually is destructive. So I deal with it on the shop floor. If somebody's out of line, everybody knows about it. And it's become you actually hear some of my staff actually make comments. Oh, so-and-so's in trouble with Ivan. They dropped the ball this morning. Now, that's fine. But by the same token, I have to be prepared to apologize when I'm wrong.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we don't see that happening very often in the business community.
This that you are describing is, in fact, culture.
there's the
It's
second
a business culture.
point. Yeah, there's the second
But
point.
you've got to be honest at all times.
First
That's a
point is,
business culture. And
there's
it's the
some-
value of your business.
right, there's a mutual respect. There's a mutual respect in your business amongst everybody. Everybody's got a say and a opinion. Number two is, there are no hidden agendas.
Absolutely.
Nada. Zipper.
And that is, I think, an extremely important thing. And those are, whether it's written down or documented, which is really irrelevant, but from my perspective in your business, your values are no hidden agendas, honesty at all times, mutual respect and integrity. Those are the things that build your business.
But it carries even further
Of
because,
course
you know,
it does, but I'm saying those are the basics.
typical example,
if you want to
like
give it a name.
when Cornel first arrived, okay, I gave him a mug of his own. He'll make his own blinking coffee. I am making his coffee for him, and I'm not paying somebody to make it for him either.
That's the only thing you said. You also said this is when you're finished, wash your teaspoon, wash your cup, and dry it off. There's no made yet.
Correct. Now, that, again, what I'm saying is that, you know, when we deal with people, the fact that I might be the paymaster doesn't give me privilege above any one of them.
Absolutely.
Okay. And I must be honest, we have a lot of fun at work. Yes, we do have very heated moments. I had another one yesterday morning with one of the crews that walked off site. Upset with the customer and upset with the sales rep and all the usual tripe that goes with it. But it's all about being honest, and it's all about having everything out in the open, transparent, where the world can see it. And it's why, and I've made the comment a little earlier, I do not close the door to my office. I think a door is one of the most insidious pieces of equipment in a business.
Absolutely.
Because the moment you close that door, you've just invited in all the office gossip.
Yep.
Exactly, but not only office
And the
gossip.
mischief that
office
goes with
gossip,
it.
Yes, but there's a whole spider web of things that go around it. Because the moment the door is closed and people are talking, then it's gossip on the one hand, but it also starts to instill fear and uncertainty and concern and when I talk about culture, those are the kinds of things that seep into your culture. Now, the way you do it, and that's why I say to you, this is your culture. Your culture is open, honest.
So there's the first thing
And
that
that's
I've noticed that you do. And I think it's those three elements that make that your people want to stay around. You make people responsible.
Exactly.
They get paid according to the outcome. Get disciplined according to the outcome.
So accountability
They
is
get
high.
promoted and
Rewarded.
according to the outcome of their work. Your business is the first business that I ever saw that a service technician will get into his car and go and fix a mistake that he made at a client without as much as one word. And when I said, but why? You know what was the answer I got? You're going to like this one. These guys get paid per job. If that job is not signed off, they don't get paid for it. Have you
Makes
ever
sense.
heard about an idea like that?
Geez.
Where the company actually pays you to do what you're supposed to do.
That doesn't happen very often.
But it works because
No, but
Obviously it
does.
works.
Because again, it gets back to being honest. The issue is that you're saying to people, look, you promised me, you said to me, you can do X, Y, Z. They've got to do it. And when you've done it, I'll keep my side of the bargain.
Absolutely.
Okay. But if you don't do it, I didn't employ you to do a half-assed job. I did not employ you. I didn't say to you it's okay to be sloppy or reckless or leave your workplace dirty, or I don't pay you to do that.
Absolutely.
And in your case, you literally don't pay them.
I withhold the money, finished, as simple as that. Because every activity, what I've actually done is I've taken every activity that they perform. There is a remuneration connected to it.
Okay.
All right. So it might be an accumulation of elements, but
But it comes
they're
down to
based
the
on
fact that the contractual agreement says, I'm paying you for this, this, and this.
that's what I
And
want.
if you do not do that,
I'm not paying.
I can't pay you for it.
Can
because
you imagine?
You have not fulfilled your contractual agreement.
Can
That's
you
what it
imagine
is. Because
in
it's
my world,
dishonesty.
in world of
Effectively, it's
finance,
claiming-
that I pay a credit controller for the amount of money that they collect? Do you think I will have one customer overdue?
Definitely not.
No, ever.
No. But this is the
Why
thing.
don't people do that?
But you see, this is the problem, and I think this is such a problem everywhere because there are so many people, and I know this, and I say this, and it might not be a popular opinion, but there are so many people sitting in workplaces in jobs who are coasting and not doing their job.
No, the only reason
there's
that they
a
are
lot.
coasting, the
There's a
only
lot.
reason that they are coasting is because the top management has not said that's what I want.
No. They often get told what is expected. Oh, trust me, they do. I have this is my work.
Hang on. I agree with both of you. Okay.
There are instances.
Coming out of that environment and now running my own business, both of those happen. So you
Yes.
get the professional manager. And that's the guy that you're referring to, that is there to be seen, not to do.
Yes.
Okay?
Let me tell you a lovely little story, and she's going to know who I'm talking about when she sees this. So we won't mention names. I have this young lass that is in my accounts department. Part of her function is collecting money. And she does such a stunning job of winding up the debtors, where those people hate her with such passion that they now boycott us, they don't want to do business with us. So what I did was I said, okay, fine. This girl is good. She really, I mean, her work is so accurate. I said to her, okay, fine. Here's the deal. I get 3 instances in the year. And this won't apply. Give me less than 3 instances of you winding up the debtors that badly, and I'll double your bonus at the year end. So it's a matter of, we know that people have certain flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And again, it goes back to being honest. If you understand your people that are there and you are paying attention to what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and you focus on how do we find ways to overcome that weakness. They exist. They always exist. But it just demands that somebody's got to put in the effort. All right. And that's a top management function. I'm sorry. It's not something that can be passed to HR or anybody else.
I absolutely agree with you, but here's the point. It comes back to where Cornel says he agrees with both of us. There are businesses where people have no idea what they should be doing and they don't know, and so then it is management's fault. But there are businesses that are highly organized, who have all their systems in place, where people absolutely know what's expected of them, and they still don't do it.
So why they're there?
If management or leadership manages it and works them out of the business, great, then you're doing what you should be doing. Overall, I think that there's a large component of people who are entitled and lazy, and they often hide it well. That's all I'm saying. Ultimately, they'll get caught. They do get caught. But now when you talk about weaknesses, which is a frowned upon term in the modern HR world, but it's not, we call it development areas, but it's not a development area. I don't agree with the terminology, and I'll tell you why. I did a course many years ago when I was working somewhere where the person who presented the course said, if you send, so for argument's sake, poor time management, and you send this person on a time management course and another time management, flogging a dead horse, it's that person's weak spot. They're never going to be good at it. Focus on what they're good at, because this person is good at that, and this person is good at that thing that this person's not good at, and build your team around strengths.
You can do that when you have large numbers.
When you have, not large numbers even.
When you've got numbers that you can play with, you can manipulate that way. I see it with some of our crews. I mean, some of the personalities, you get personality clashes and various other things that you have to contend with. But
Yeah.
that's normal sort of management
That's
work.
the thing is, the point is that when you build teams, put people together who complement each other, and that will automatically change. And you need to allow people to understand that this is where you're really good at, and I'm gonna focus on that. And I've seen this play out very well in a lot of environments. But again, if you look at that and you look at recruitment practices, and I always say to people, recruitment's not just a matter of putting out an advert and getting in people and saying, okay, well, this person's got the right qualifications on paper and I'm going to put them in this job. It's more than that. It's looking at the kind of person the personality. So what I would call behavioral indicators play a big role in your recruitment process as well. There are people who I've sat in front who have the most perfect qualifications that I would never appoint because they have a bad attitude or whatever the case may be. And that must be then built into your performance.
But if you want to see
system.
excitement, sales reps, and bless their souls, we employ sales reps to duck and dive.
They're a different
They've got to
breed.
get past the switchboard. They've got to get past the barriers that management put up. They've got to get past all kinds of things. And they're
very
very
different breed.
devious. They're a very devious bunch, but
What did you
they're
call
lovable.
it? Trojans.
They really can be a nightmare. Now, again, we see companies getting cross with, and they've got all these procedures, and sales reps don't understand these things. Okay. Paperwork. Oh my goodness. If you want to get, reps will do it.
Until they have to use it as an excuse
No,
for
no,
not
no,
making sales. I can tell you stories.
They're masters at ducking and diving.
I can tell you stories.
But we recruit them to duck and dive. And what everybody forgets is that when they come home, they're not able to change their behavior. That behavior is entrenched in them. We've taught them, we've set them on the marketplace, and that's been driven into them. So when they come back to the office, they're going to bring the same behavior back. Now, one of the pet hates that you will find with reps is that poaching. He has taken my account. I've done all this work here, and because there's another branch opened up there, he's poached my account, and I've done the work, and you got this. So reps frequently will clash. And again, these kind of things I am familiar with, and I've built them into the platform because, again, I've said, guys, I want to be able to trace. I want to be able to track exactly who's doing what. But more importantly, I don't want to track that. I want you to. So I've actually given the reps the mechanism to go and see who's doing what.
Yeah.
Reps don't trust reps. Mm-hmm. And one of the things is that you frequently find there's a lot of friction between the reps. And again, it's a matter of finding tools to overcome those frictions. It's not about making a rule that you can't hit each other. It's about finding ways that they don't want to hit each other. All right. We've got, from a management perspective, we've got to turn it, and we've got to stay focused on where are the friction points and deal with the friction points, not the task, the activity. And the reps, I find that now, I mean, and I've got, I think about 14 or 15 of them, and they're all in the same proximity. And trust me, if somebody so much as gets a whisper that rep's going near one of my clients, or that's a subsidiary of one of my clients, or trust me, the claws are out very, very quickly.
But remind me quickly that on the system itself, you can't edit a purchase order once it's been confirmed. So you can't go and change the sales rep, for instance, on a purchase order.
No, because the accounts are locked down to a rep. So the rep is accountable for everything that happens with that account, including the payments, including the quotes. So in other words, because the nature of our businesses covers so many product ranges. So if they're building a quote, they may not have the knowledge and skill on all the products. So the quote can actually be transferred to other people to work on their quote on their behalf. When the quote comes back to them, they can't interfere in what the other person put into the quote, and vice versa. So you've got the protection occurring, but at the same time, you've got the traceability to see where that quote went to and who contributed to the quote. All right. So that when the order comes in, then the system will then turn around and say, okay, fine, we'll create the job cards, and it involved 3 different departments. It'll actually create 3 different job cards automatically. So everything has been scheduled out in such a fashion that we take away the friction points, and everything is controlled by the rep themselves. So if something goes pear-shaped on site or in the transaction process, nobody goes anywhere by the rep. They don't go near accounts. They don't go anywhere. Rep, it's your baby. That's your source of revenue. Because if you sit down and think about it, a rep has a capacity. And what a lot of companies don't understand, or I don't know whether they don't understand or just don't want to listen. A rep has a capacity. Once they fill that capacity, they're going to start losing accounts. All right.
But they won't tell you.
They will not declare that to you. They will not tell you that they've lost the account.
Or that they don't have any more time.
No, they will blame admin. They will blame finance.
They will blame somebody, but they will not stick up their hand and say, me, I, and so cannot handle this anymore.
And that is why you have to have the infrastructure to monitor it. It's exactly the same thing. I mean, one of my pet chases is that I spend money on producing quotes. Because every rep that goes out there and they're quoting, that doesn't cost me money. And yet, the number of times that I go into their pending quotes, no comments, there's no follow-up. Now, wait a minute, I've spent money to get a quote onto the customer's desk, and you can't be bothered to follow up and to chase it. Now, that's money out of my pocket. This is not good. So there has to be mechanisms that you are aware of this and to what extent this is happening. Now, there are products out there, there are apps that you can get for your sales force. And in many instances, they are more focused on the input side than the delivery side. Okay. And I'm saying, guys, that's not the way to treat your sales rep. I don't care how they do it. I want to know, what am I invoicing? What workload are you bringing through? Are my crews busy? Have I got activity occurring on my shop floor? Because without that, I don't have a business.
Absolutely.
And that, I think, is also one of the keys, is that in managing people is to watch for these friction points, because they appear so quickly and you don't even see them coming.
But you've done something else that I found fascinating. Is you hold all of your sales reps accountable for their own paperwork.
Oh, hell yes, yeah.
Okay. So you load your quotes, you chase up your quotes, you chase up your orders, you chase up your invoicing, you do all of that paperwork. And the nature of the person that you just described, the ducker and the diver, is by its very definition, not a very good administrator. Okay?
No.
So what Ivan has done, which I've never seen anywhere, but it makes such logical sense, is giving his sales reps the opportunity to subcontract the administration. But they pay for it.
Excellent. That's a good model.
I had to sit down and think this one out. Why is this a bad idea? And I couldn't come up with an answer.
Well, they pay for it themselves, right?
The sales rep has the opportunity to employ an administrator,
which he
they
pays
pay
for
for
himself.
to do their work. So there's this very funny triangle of responsibility and responsibilities between the employer, the employee, and the subcontractor.
Here's
Because
my
they're working
question.
on the employee is very confidential information. So there is a contractual relationship going this way to make sure that none of this information leaves and it's checked and everything. And there is a quality control and there is a lot of built-in regulation
makes
around
sense.
this.
Makes sense.
But, and this is the bit that you're going to like, the employer-employee relationship, the employment relationship is between the sales rep and the subcontractor.
So if the subcontractor messes up, that's an employment relationship
Yes.
and not an independent contractor
Yeah.
setup,
The sales rep
manages this, and if this one screws
but
up,
under the direction of Ivan, has to go through the disciplinary process. Okay?
that's fine.
So
So,
it's
how
not just
well
a question of
utilized is this?
kick them out of the door because they screwed up my invoice. No. You've got to follow all of the rules and regulations.
Absolutely.
It's
But
again,
it comes out of your paycheck. And I
Makes
thought to
sense
myself,
to me.
nobody will do that. And I think you've got now two
Think it
sales
would.
reps.
I've got 3 there.
There's-
Yeah, I wanted
Three.
to ask, how well utilized is this? Because they, by their very nature, that's not what they want to do. They want to sell. They do not want to do admin.
Correct. Now, again, it's a matter of, you've got to look at your staff and you've got to say, well, where are the friction points? And how do we find mechanisms to overcome those friction points? And it should be fun. I mean, as I say, we spend so many hours at work, it shouldn't be a slog. But you're going to find that you're going to have certain reps that will never trust another person and they want to do it themselves.
Yep.
Okay. So you have to respect that.
Yeah.
Then you get the others who are more driven by revenue and success and being at the top of the heap and
Absolutely.
The sale.
The sale
Closing
element.
the
the
sale.
deal, doing the deal.
Deal,
Yeah.
yeah.
And those are the ones that have decided that they are going to employ their own people to take away the nuisance stuff because they want to focus on the sale.
That's fine.
Now, the way I look at businesses, I say, no, guys, because we're a labor-intensive type of business, it's about the person. So my job is to pave the road for their success. Their success is more important than mine. Mine will happen irrespective. And the more successful they are, I get the spin-off. So I can't be bothered with worrying about what's in it for me. I keep the focus on the person. And I mean, I've got staff that have been with me 25, 30 years. And I just don't have a high staff turnover. It just doesn't happen. I mean, if I lose 1 or 2% in a year, it's a lot. But the focus has to be on the person and being honest at all times. And when somebody's out of line, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take them into the office and do it behind closed doors. That's not going to happen. They get chewed out in front of everybody as well as complimented. And if I've dropped the ball, apologize. It doesn't hurt. It really doesn't. There's no pain. But the other day I put through an increase on 2 people. They never asked for it. But they're worth more to me because of having achieved certain benchmarks. And neither of them came along and said, thank you. So yesterday they were walking past and I called a pair of them up to me and I said to them, hey, you're a bunch of bums. I give you a blinking increase and neither of you had the bloody manners to come to me and say, thank you. Oh, Ivan, we were waiting for the opportunity. I said, no, you weren't waiting for opportunity. I said, it was just bloody bad manners, as simple as that. And that's what I'm talking about. It's about being honest. They didn't treat me the way that I felt that they should have, and it needed to be said. And I did it in the workshop. It was not done in private. Okay. Those are the things that I consider as valuable. And the biggest problem that I find in most businesses is the top management do not go down to the shop floor. They do not walk the shop floor.
Absolutely.
Seldom,
Absolutely.
they don't.
Absolutely.
They don't.
They don't
Cannot
want
agree
to.
with you.
They don't know the names of the people. They don't know anything about their staff. I mean, when people come to me and ask for loans, I mean, staff are forever coming for loans. I mean, they have their own problems. And if you're not prepared to stop and listen to their story, not that you're interested, but it's the right thing to do.
But that's the thing. So in executing my work, and I mean some of our clients, well, all of our clients, the clients that I have on a regular basis, my philosophy with all of that, and it was the same when I worked in corporate as well, get to know and understand the business from the nitty-gritty all the way through, because I cannot assist or work with anybody if I don't know what it's about.
Yes.
So in any one of my current clients, I can tell you what their business is about, how it works, how it operates, what the steps are, what the departments are, what the people do, because that is important.
Yes.
I cannot render a service to somebody that I don't understand what they're doing. And whether I was employed or whether I'm now the consultant, it makes no difference. I need to understand my client.
Well, that's what I did with Cornel. When he very first pitched up there, I threw him in with a couple of my people and I said, right, go sit down with him and go and learn. Go and see what the business is about, because it's a lot more, there's a lot more in business than people think. You know, a business is not about I employ, you work for me, you do what I tell you. It's not about that. And if we're looking for success, it's about taking everybody with us.
Of course.
And as I say, honesty, integrity, these are important values. And once they understand that they will always get a fair shake, you don't have them leaving.
Exactly.
But I've seen people move for stupid amounts of money. And then sometimes I've seen people actually leave companies for less. Yeah,
absolutely. And that's what that goes back to my point of earlier, where I say people will not, when they feel valued and engaged and they're happy, they will not leave for money.
Look, there's always exceptions to every rule.
Oh,
but
you've got people who are driven by that.
There are exceptions to
and
every
then
rule.
go there and miserable
But,
there, and then they move on to. Those people never settle. The point is that your mature people in the workplace are the ones who realize, value what you've got. Those people who move from one job to the other are also the ones who get retrenched more often, who get themselves into trouble, that don't engage in a workplace. They never really settle.
Well, as I say, you know, I mean, we've even had, I told Cornel a story about a particular one of my service techs. He was an absolute star. He really did good work. And then we suddenly began seeing a decline in the quality of his work, and we started getting customer complaints and this type of thing. So having been in the service and all the rest of it and been around people a lot, my instinct was, wait a minute, this guy's got to be taking some drugs or something like it. So let's get him tested. Anyway, it proved out that he was taking drugs. I don't know which particular ones he was taking, but anyway. So we tried the threatening and all the usual tactics that one tries to try and get people to turn their life around, and none of it worked. So I ended up firing him. Then I had pressure from the other crews. Oh, you know, bring him back, you know, he's a good guy, he did good work. And, you know, we were under a lot of workload pressure and, you know, again, training up people is a long process. It's not, you don't just take somebody off the street and think they can do the job from day one. So I brought him back, and that lasted a couple of weeks, and I ended up firing him again. Then his wife came to me, and she was in tears, and she was a teacher and minimum salary and struggling to pay the bills, and, you know, and all the sad stories, and you have to listen. So I listened to her, and then I said to her, you know, where is he? So she said, no, he's waiting outside. I said, bring him in. She brought him through to the office, and sat down there. I said, now explain to me what's going on. She looks at me and says, Uncle Ivan, he says, I had a problem. I had too much money, and I didn't know what to do with it, and I started buying drugs. I said, so it's my fault that I overpaid you, and you've now become a junkie, and I'm the bad guy. Believe it or not, it's a true story. But again, you've got to be prepared to listen to people. You've got to be prepared to be honest. And when his wife was sitting there and she heard of the story herself, I looked at the girl and I said, now, do you honestly expect me to bring him back? In all sincerity. Or, do I have to pay his salary to you to make sure he hasn't got money for drugs? What have I got to do to help?
But why has this become your problem?
At the end of the day, you've got to understand that the rest of the company is watching.
Of course, I get that, but but remember, the rest of the company is watching. So this person's drug addiction, do you now, for instance, the example you mentioned, bring him back, pay her his salary so that she can manage it so that he doesn't use drugs? It's not your problem. The rest of the company also has to see that you've taken a firm stance on this. You do not tolerate that kind of thing because ultimately it affects your bottom line. And that's where you need to set that example.
Unfortunately, I've even had one of the crews who had a booze problem. And it actually worked very, very well where I actually paid the money across to his wife and she used to give him an allowance. Yep. So at the end of the day,
fair enough.
We've got the responsibility. When you're in the top management position, you have the responsibility. Those are people that you've given a job to, and employing somebody takes on a lot of burden.
No, absolutely. I don't
And
disagree.
it's not a matter of just treating people as objects or a resource. They're more than just a resource.
No,
and I think that speaks back to what we said in the beginning, is how can you create an environment where people actually stay, where they are fulfilled, and that you don't get this 10% plus staff turnover. I think it speaks to those other three elements that we brought up. End of the day is you created an environment where people feel appreciated.
And the controls and checks and balances are in place. Yep. That is, I think, is the foundation. If your foundation is right, and this is why the platform was so important to me. And I'll be honest, it's made me redundant in the workplace. I'm now more of a nuisance than I am a benefit. And that was very much my goal, because the more that the platform does for me, the freer my time, which allows me to focus on new, better growth, et cetera, et cetera. So it makes sense to me to do these kind of things. But you have, the system has got to be so rigid that you can pick up very quickly where your friction points are. And I think this is where a lot of management struggle, because they don't understand the friction points in their business.
Cool.
No, understood.
Good. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Owen.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right.